YouTube! You already know who it is, baby. Yugi Skull, you already know. Guys, loving this format. I gotta say, I'm loving this format, okay? I'm bringing you guys yet another spicy blue eyes list, right? We've been really dabbling with a lot of different like blue eyes variants. Like I've tested out like the Fiendsmith variants, PRIMITE variants, tested out. What else have we tested out? Kind of touched a little bit the invoked stuff with like some bestials, but yeah, just the other night I took pure blue eyes with PRIMITE, 2 locals, and got second place, 4 rounds. First round against like Crystal Beast, Snake Eye, Gold Sarcophagus, 60 deck pile, some crazy like mill deck with some crazy like combo deck. Game 2, Branded. Game 3, Ryzeal. Won all those 3. And then last but not least, we did play Malice. I think I do have a pretty good recipe against Malice, but unfortunately we did take the L on that one. But I just didn't see the correct cards, and you know the deck does kind of brick. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. There is a lot of one-of gauntlets, but regardless, I think the deck is playing really, really good. Definitely tier 1. It's not Ryzeal, it's not Malice, but it's definitely putting up a fight as it should. And guys, like let's just take a moment to respect the mat, right? This is from 2008. Gold Series 4 Pyramid Edition. So got the nice blue eyes on the left, then we got the XYZ Dragon on the right, and then Kaiba, of course, with his dual disc. But yeah, without further ado, guys, let's get into it. We'll talk a little bit about my tech options and how they kind of fare in the different matchups in the meta. So yeah, we'll start with the main deck. We got the 3 Sage, your best normal summon, I would say, other than Ether, of course, Ether Barrel. You're usually adding Maiden. Sometimes you're adding Veiler if you already have Maiden or Wishes. And then a cool, actually, hidden effect of this guy is, you know, dump him from hand, target a monster, it gets sent on res, and then you can actually special summon a blue eyes from your deck. So a lot of you folks forget about that effect, but it becomes really, really powerful if you actually open the Maiden or Wishes. Then you can potentially use this as an extender in the concern that you're potentially up against a deck that is playing Bestials. So I would actually say your lines need to pivot and change if you're going up against Malice or any deck that you're seeing is running a Bestial package, like I don't know, like a Lubellian package or whatnot. Just because that hidden feature really comes into handy if your Blue Eyes White Dragon is getting sent off from the graveyard to banishment by a Bestial, then you can actually use this instead of a normal summon as an extender to recoup back another Blue Eyes from the deck onto the field so you can conduct your synchro line plays. So keep that in mind. That's just a professional tip that I've been seeing with Sage. Like you actually should not be committing this guy onto the field if you know that there are Bestials. What you should be committing to is your Maiden and your Wishes to get your resources onto the board, such as your True Light and your like Roar and your Majesty, using those cards. But you should actually be keeping this to get to Blue Eyes in the hopes that, you know, in the concern or issue that it gets Bestialed off. Your Blue Eyes vanilla gets Bestialed off by that opponent. But yeah, that's just a pro tip, is use this as an extender against Malice instead of a starter. Of course, 3 Maiden, no explanation needed. 2 Blue Eyes. Guys, I gotta get some rarity bumps, but I went with the LOB Broke Neck art. Playing 3 Wishes. Don't play 2, it's incorrect. No explanation needed there. And we got the Mausoleum, the one of. This thing was glued to my hand the other day at local. Still got second. Kind of pissed, but you still need it. Got the 1 Roar, the 1 Majesty, and the 1 True Light. These are your gauntlets. Seeing this is not bad. Seeing this is not bad. Seeing this in grind is actually half decent, because it could literally add you True Wishes or any of these other ones if you need them. A hidden effect on this one, the roar, is actually, let's say you don't have access to wishes, and you use this, you can actually, on the next turn, after you've used the field effect, is banish this from the graveyard and actually use dragons from your hand or field to fusion summon your Tyrant. So this is actually another line into Tyrant other than your Wishes Banishment to equip your Neo Ultimate to Blue Eyes. This is actually another way to get Tyrant out. Cool, so that's it for Blue Eyes engine. We got the PRIMITE engine. We are maxing out on the Ether Barrel, maxing out on the load, mandatory. And then we are playing the 1 Drill Beam. No, I'm just kidding, guys. We're playing 3. You gotta play the triple Glock, guys. Okay? Triple Glock to hit the block. All right? I really don't want to hear any other theory around this. It's not a brick. It is literally one of the best board breakers in the game right now as we speak. The amount of times that this thing was top decked or was in my hand, and then I just top decked the vanilla, which is a brick or load or ether, and it was live, to be able to help break into my opponent's board is just unprecedented. Even when you're going first and you have this in hand and it's live, and you have like ample, you know, PRIMITE engine in your hand, and maybe like the 1 Blue Eyes starter, which happens quite frequently, right? Like seeing a lot of the loads or ethers is quite common. So having that actually in your hand helps you to potentially use this as a call buy against cards like Impermanence or even Impulse, right? It will definitely happen. A lot of times as well, what players are doing is they just do not want to see the load come out off of the Ether Barrel, or just don't want you to set the Drill Beam off the Ether Barrel that's been normal summoned, because sometimes you actually don't even need the load. So what they're actually doing is they're either ashing your load or they're imperming, veiling your Ether Barrel, because the minute this stuff gets into rotation, leading you to Drill Beam, in a simplified game state, if this thing is active and it's constantly coming back on each of your next turn, as well as the Ether Barrel and graveyard and the standby, you've usually won the game, because in a simplified game state, they're going to need 2 pushes to push through this essentially Omni-Negate spot removal, which is pretty busted. Against Branded, the triple Drill Beam was top decked both games, going second. So I lost dice in both games against Branded. Game 1, I was able to actually clap up the Cartesia trying to fuse and banish her, so that way the recursion from her is actually completely gone. And then game 2, they tried to, I was able to ash the Branded fusion, but they set a fusion duplication, so I was able to snipe the fusion duplication with Drill Beam, completely shutting down the entire board of the Branded player. Also, guys, it's more outs to Ryzeal Detonator. Like, that's a huge plus, right? Like, this is not only a board breaker that's part of Engine, but it is a easy out to Ryzeal Detonator if you pair it with another hand trap, which we'll go through in a minute. Cool. Now for non-engine, we've got Imperm, Triple Purge. You have to run all 3. 2 Veiler, only 2 because it's searchable. 2 Nib just because I don't want to brick on it, and yeah, it's just more like board breakers. This on its own doesn't actually do very much. It must be paired with any of these others, like the 3 Imperms, the Dominus Purges, or like the 2 Veilers, or even like the 3 Ash. The reason being is, in theory, Ryzeal is the most popular deck in the format, correct? As we all know. So you would count these 2 Nibiru's as board breakers and outs to Ryzeal Detonator, because the odds of you actually pairing them with these other, what is this, 11, is actually quite high. The odds are definitely there. So in theory, against Ryzeal, what I want to see in my opening hand, if I'm going second, post, like before we side, some of the other stuff that's in the extra, which we'll get into, I want to see one of these 3, so I can stop dual drive, and then I want to either see my Nibiru, or my triple Drill Beam, or potentially I want to see my 2 talents to steal, or potentially the pot to dig for any of those breakers that we're talking about, other than Nibiru, obviously. So So yeah, that's it for the hand traps. Oh, and then we're also playing triple Fua. The theory behind Fua is what you ideally want to have happen, similar to Nibiru, is it must be paired. Fuvalos, Moltrami Fuvalos needs to be paired. So what you're going to do is they're going to normal summon ice. You're going to chain Moltrami Fuvalos, or potentially even two in that case. And then you're going to draw 2 to 4 cards. And in those 2 to 4 draws, that's when we're also saying we're going to pair it with triple drill beam, the triple Glock, 2 talents, so the five breakers. Or in that case, what we could actually pair it with on turn 2 is our 3 impermanents. So now what the theory suggests is if you are either opening the Molcharmi, you now also will have an advantage and a pretty good likelihood in drawing into any of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 breakers to be able to out Ryzeal Detonator. Because, guys, that is the gatekeeper of the format, and the deck, unfortunately, cannot play unless that card is off. And we do side in more tech just to counteract Ryzeal Detonator post-side, and we'll get into that in a second. So, yeah, that's the theory behind my tech options in the deck and the ratios of the hand traps. But, yeah, moving on to tech, obviously, we did kind of show it off already, but the 1 Pot of Prosperity as well as the 2 talents are definitely crucial. And the talents actually has some secret spice that we'll get into in the extra. Cool. Let's get into the extra deck. We're doing good on time, about the 10-minute mark. 2 Spirit. I'd play 3 if I had the space, but 2 is just fine. Some more links. We've got SP, Lina, and then the 1 Seals. There's a world where in like really grindy games, you want 2 Seals. Might bump it up. We'll see. Not too sure. For Xyz, we've got, of course, the Typhon, the Mirrorlogic Aggregator, we'll get into why in a second, and then also the Zeus. This is kind of spicy because we are running the 2 talents. So there's going to be game states potentially where you're able to take things such as like their DDD Caesar, if they're playing like a Fiendsmith package, or their maybe take their Duo Drive or take their Detonator, crash the Detonator into something, and then go main 2, slap on a Zeus, then you have like, I don't know, 4 or 5 material Zeus off the Detonator or Dual Drive or whatever it may be. Clear board if you want to, or potentially have it as an end piece, then develop your Blue Eyes stuff. So then what your end board looks like is Blue Eyes stuff, you'd resolve all that, and then if they happen to break through your Blue Eyes defense, then you can just start using Zeus to keep clearing their materials off the board if should your Blue Eyes engine be compromised at that point. Awesome. So that's it for the XYZs. Now for the Synchro package, we're running the 1 Ultimate, 2 Spirit, no explanation needed. The 1 Lightstorm mandatory, and then the 1 Black Rose mandatory for your non-destructive pop. Lightstorm is for your back row pop, and then obviously your Spirit Dragon bridges it all together. And of course, your bread and butter go-to is going to be your Omni-Negate Ultimate Spirit. And finally for fusions, we're running the 1 Tyrant as well as the Neo Ultimate. So that way you have a line to Tyrant. This thing is very, very broken, and one of the reasons why we're also maxing out on the hand traps in our deck, such as Dominus, Purge, and Impermanence, is because this guy exists and he's very, very easy to tutor out with the help of the new Wishes spell card that can be banished from the graveyard, same turn that it's used. Awesome, and now it's time for the extra deck. Not extra deck, sorry folks, side deck. We'll talk a little bit about siding patterns too. So side deck, we've got some Malice Hate, Lancia, triple Chaos Hunters. So that's it for the Malice matchup. For Ryzeal, of course, you guys saw the Mirror Logic. You guessed it, we're playing 3 Slayers. And then we're also playing for the Ryzeal matchup some more back row hit, because everyone loves to set Solemn Strike. So they're going to get punished with this back row. And also, this is very much a good side-in against Blue Eyes because it threatens their entire board. The last but not least, I went with 2 Solemn Judgments and a Primite Scream. The reason why I went from 3 Solemns to 1 Scream is for the sheer fact that you don't actually want to open too much of this. Like, one is just fine. But if you open a Primite Scream and a Solemn, you're probably okay because you can actually loop this off of its own effect if you have a Primite monster on the field. Solemn does not have that ability. I also love the fact that we're playing triple Drill Beam, so the odds of me actually seeing it in open hand is quite good, quite better than running the one copy. So I wanted a way to, I basically needed another name post side when I can afford to run something that can, you know, could potentially be seen as a brick going first. To basically have another name, so that way if I'm going into my Primite engine and I already have Drill Beam in hand, I have another name to be able to set so I can have an additional layer of interruption against my opponent. So that's it, folks. In terms of a little bit of a siding pattern, I had some of you guys on Facebook ask me about siding patterns. Look, I mean, the way I approach it is triple Drill Beam is used against every single matchup. The only weird matchup where my siding pattern is a little bit weird is actually Malice, but for the most part, what I side in going first for most matchups is literally I just take out the Fuvalos, the Mulcharmies, and I put these in, and that's it. Like, the deck is ready to go as is to go first. Going second, I do take out like a Wishes. I also like take out Mulcharmy if it's not that great. Like, let's say you're playing a deck that summons from the hand a lot, like, I don't know, like a Kashtira or like a Voiceless. I don't know if those decks are still around, but like even Fuvalo sometimes gets sided. But going second, depending on the matchup, really what I'm looking to actually side in primarily is my back row hate, so I can stop things such as the Solemn Strikes. And if it's Ryzeal, then I'm also complementing that back row hate with the Ultimate Slayers. One note as well for the Ryzeal matchup before we get into the Malice matchup. I actually side out against Ryzeal all my monster hand traps with exception to a Mulcharmy Fuwalis and one Effect Veiler. So here's my theory against Ryzeal. Ryzeal players nowadays that run like triple TTT and then also triple crossout. So the odds of them actually eating a hand trap are one, low, and then two, we're very likely going to get punished for it by 6 potential cards in that deck. 7 actually if you can't call by. So what my theory is against that matchup is to actually side out all the monster hand traps like we just mentioned. We keep things such as your breakers, like your talents. Fuwalos is like a pseudo breaker. You take out Ash, you take out Nibiru, you keep one Veiler, but you're gonna really max out on your Dominus Purge and your Impermanence, and then of course your triple Drill Beam. The reason why we do this is because we really want to leverage Mulcharmy as our only, as like not only a form of board breaking because it puts pressure on your opponent not to go into too many strike monsters. You're usually going to go Detonator Pass, right? And then Fuwalis is going to essentially replenish your hand on its own. So then you're not going to get punished by Crossout or get punished by TTT because you're running breakers to out Detonator so you can play freely. So your triple Drill Beam, your Impermanence then become breakers. Your Dominus Purges, even in your Imperms as hand traps, don't actually get punished as hard as things such as Veiler or Ash or Nibiru because they're not going to run the Crossout target for Purge, and Talents is not live under Dominus Purge. So this thing is actually very, very good on Duo Drive. So yeah, that's just how I'm thinking about it. Yeah, these are the only 4 monster hand traps that I use. I take the risk at that point. Like, they go normal summon ice, I do use Mulcharmy, or I might actually just shotgun it in draw phase post side if I know they're on Ryzeal, of course. And then the talent stays so we can have that nice line into Zeus should we need it. And then of course Impermanence can be either a negate on your opponent's turn or a board breaker on your own turn. Against Malice, the triple Glock strategy unfortunately is not going to cut it. I find that deck, you do actually have to stop them with hand traps, so you will play into things such as Talents and Crossout. But that's just the nature of that deck, so you do have to side all your Lancias and your Hunters and all 3 of your Fuvaloses going second. And then those first 6 do stay in when I am going first as well. What I tend to side out against Malice is actually the Purges. I find the Purges not that good against Malice in comparison to Ash going first. Just because you can't purge a Mulcharmy against Malice, but you can Ash a Mulcharmy. I only do run the one Drill Beam, and then even things such as Talents actually get sided. I might keep like one copy, but definitely not two. The whole goal against Malice right now, folks, in my opinion, if you're playing any deck, is actually hand trapping them. You have to stop them with these 9 cards, so that way their board is actually manageable for you to break into. So that's it for theory. Hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile and some of the siding patterns. I will talk to you guys on the next one. Peace.